excited and I want to show you how to make this lap book. So first, if you have not seen what it is and you're kind of curious, I'm going to show you that. So it's a fun folder that I'm going to be using for art journaling that just opens in a number of ways. And so you can add all sorts of different kind of projects or ideas. And there's you can make this, once you learn this basic outline of what we're doing, you'll be able to make whatever you want in this lap book and be able to decorate it and add more flaps to it if you want and all sorts of stuff. But we're going to start out with this basic design here. What you need are some file folders. Now I used some pre-decorated ones, but you can use just a pack of plain old manila envelopes from the Dollar Tree. You may want to have a ruler. This is a T-square ruler, but any ruler would work. You may want to have a pen to mark things off. You're going to want either some really good glue. I love this tacky glue, but it's fast grab. So that's a game changer, folks. It is, I love this stuff. Or like a tape runner, like that you would use for scrapbooking, that would work too. Rubber cement, all sorts of things like that would work. And then you're gonna need either scissors or a paper trimmer. I happen to have a paper trimmer, and so I like using that if I can, because it cuts straight lines for me, and I can't cut a straight line. So that's why I prefer to use that. And then you might want, this paper trimmer came with a bone folder. You may want a bone folder, but also like the edge of your scissors or ruler can work the same. All we're going to be using it for is to make really good creases. So you can use like a butter knife or the edge of your scissors, or if you have a nice strong ruler. This plastic one's a little flexible, but like if you have a nice strong ruler, you can use that. So you don't have to have a bone folder, but if you have a bone folder of any type, it's going to come in handy. So you'll notice that if you're looking at manila folders with tabs, they have them in different places, right? So generally, when you get a set of folders, you have a middle folder and a right tab or a left tabbed folder and a right tabbed folder. And so what we need for the first part of this project is a folder with a middle tab. So I'm gonna look through mine and see which ones I might want to use that I have a middle tab for. We're just gonna open it up, and you can have it flipped either way that you want to, okay? So it doesn't matter which side the tab is on. You can have the tab over here, you can have the tab over here, that doesn't matter. But all we're going to do is we're going to take the notched side and fold it into the middle seam. Okay, this is where a bone folder comes in handy, because it will help you create that nice crisp fold. Or again, you can use your scissors handle. They actually work really well. So if you don't have a bone folder, don't go buy one, just use scissors. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the notch and place it right in the middle there. Actually, I'm gonna overlap it just a little bit so that my seams match up here. So you're gonna fold that to the middle, and now you're gonna have what looks like a fun little kind of locking mechanism when your whole project is done. So that's how you get that cute little look. It looks like you did that on purpose, right? Well, we did, but we didn't have to cut that to make that work. Okay, so now you have this folder that's doing the things that we want it to. So next what we're going to do is we're gonna cut up some folders. Don't cry. We're gonna cut up some folders here. And so what we want to do to create these flaps here that fold in on each other is we want to get a folder that has a notch either on the left side or the right side, or both. It doesn't matter, but one of your left or right side notches make it fit on the inside of this so that it folds over. So there's only a couple of things we need to do to make that work. So the first one is, you can see most manila folders are standard size, but you need to cut this down because it's a little bit too big to fit in here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take about a ½ inch to an inch off of this right here. Okay, so I'm just going to cut this edge right here. And if you have a ruler, you can mark it out, or if you have a paper trimmer, you can look. This is an 11.5 inch folder, so if I want to take just a ½ inch off, I'm going to push it down to 11 inches right there. And then cut that off. And you want to save this little trim piece here. And if your paper cutter doesn't like cutting through 2 layers of folder, because this is pretty heavy stuff, you can just flip it over like I just did. So save these little ends here. Then you will notice too that it's a bit too wide with this notch on it here. So we're gonna cut off like an inch off the bottom, and you want to save that piece too. And you just set it aside for now. So I'm going to measure this out according to the tab here. This is 9.5 inches. So I want to take this down to 8.5 right there. And I'm probably going to have to cut through both sides. Or let's see if I make a second pass, Phil. A few passes there and it will cut. Almost. Almost. Oh, it did. Look at that. Okay, so keep this piece, this little 1 inch folder piece is going to become a part of how we construct this. So you definitely want to keep that piece. And then you have these 2 pieces here. Then we are going to take this folder and we are going to cut it down so that it can become these pieces here that fold in like this. Okay, you want to cut the inch off the bottom first for the second set of flaps, just like we did on the other one. So we're going to take this down. Sometimes it's easier to see up here. Yeah. So this again is 9.5 inches. So we want to take it at least to 8.5 inches so we can get a good, nice inch up off the bottom. And again, you want to keep this piece because this is going to become a hinge. And then we want to cut this down so that it fits nicely within well, here, I'll show it on this one. So it fits nicely within the flaps this way. So you can measure that out. You can cut it to be exact. You can cut it to be approximate. It helps though if now that you got all your pieces cut, so you're just going to cut some width off of this and save that width. It's really fun because this can be used for decorating. So you're going to cut that width down. Now make sure all those layers can close so far. So if you need to trim off just a teeny bit more on any edge, just go ahead and do that. But this one I cut off, let me see, we cut off, I think, yeah, 3 inches. So to create this, you're going to cut 1 inch off the bottom of this folder, and then you're going to cut 3 inches off the non-tab side. Just the tabs I think are cute. You can always cut off the tabs if you just want the pattern, but I think what's kind of cool is you can tell that this is made out of folders, and that makes it kind of fun and whimsical. Okay, so now all we have to do is put it together. Now this is a pretty easy, fun part. So what we want to do first is we want to put in these flaps that are going to go like this. Okay, so to make a hinge for those flaps, again, you can measure this if you want to, or you can be not so precise. I tend to be a person who doesn't really care. But if you want to fold it up, if you want to measure it, you can fold it at about a 1/2 inch. That's probably more like 3/4 of an inch or something, but anywhere from a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch is good. And then you want to use something to get a nice crease on that. Okay. And we got the crease on here. Then you want to do the same with the other piece. Okay, we're going to get a nice crease on there. And you want to glue these in first. So I'll show you why. It'll make sense towards the end. And if you have designs on your folders, you can make it so that the designs show when they're folded or the designs show when it's opened. You can do whatever you want. If you have plain manila folders, it doesn't matter at all, because then you get to go in and paint or decorate, cover with paper or ribbon or washi tape or whatever you want to make this your own. And in fact, I'm going to do some decorating anyway, even though I've got these fun folders. All right, so I want this tab to be on this side. Just, I don't know why. That's totally a personal preference thing. So you're gonna just take that hinge and glue it down to the very, very top edge of your lap book, right there in the middle. So see, we have this. You're gonna open it up, and this is what you're gonna see so far. So you just put glue on the back of that little hinge. The fact that this is not cut perfectly doesn't matter, because this is going to get covered up. Okay, now we're going to put the bottom one in. Same way, just going to put some glue, or if you have your tape runner or whatever kind of glue you're using, I'm going to put a nice bit of glue down there. Not so much that it runs over and gets gooey and sticky everywhere. And then if you're using a wet glue, this is a fast grab, which makes it a lot easier. But if you're using a wet glue, at this point, you may want to just set it aside with a book on top of it. Now you want to take the other two pieces that we cut. I think we cut this one first. And you want to take the two hinges that I said hold on to, these creases that were cut off the bottom of your folders. You want both of them for this project. So what we're going to do is we are going to take one of the hinges here, and you're going to put glue on the left side of this hinge. Do not put glue on both sides of this hinge, just this left side. Then we're going to glue this folder in, line up one end with the bottom, be pressing on that. And I'm going to go ahead and cut off the extra here so that it lines up. It's easy to trim by hand. Now I'm going to just keep pressing on it, kind of like I did with my other project, just to make sure the glue is really grabbing. And you want to make sure you don't have a lot of glue in the seam here, or if you go like this, it will glue this shut. And you need this, we need this flap right here. So if there's glue, just wipe it up with your fingers or a paper towel or something like that, and you're good to go. Now we're going to do the other side. You obviously can pre-measure this and trim it to cut. You can trim it before you glue it on, like I did on this one too, or you can glue it on and then trim it, like I did. So either way it works. Now on this side, you're gonna only wanna glue on the right side of the hinge. Okay, so we're gonna put glue just on this side of the hinge, on this one. Or your tape runner, or whatever you're using to glue things down with. And then I want this print on the outside, so I'm going to mimic what I did here, except for we're doing this one on the right side of things. what we're doing is we're creating little hinges here that then we can glue into our lap book so that these become really fun little flaps that open and close. All right, while I've been doing that, I had my lap book sitting under something heavy to keep the glue drying the way I want it to. So now we've got those two pieces in. Now we're gonna put in our hinged pieces. If you notice your adhesive isn't sticking well enough, you can try and add some adhesive. You can tuck some underneath. We're gonna be covering all this up too, so like I see a little gap right there and I can't really get my fingers in there too well. So I'm just gonna kind of shove some glue in that gap right there and get that glued down securely. So this whole spot we're gonna cover up with one more folder so you can make it as messy as you want, because right now we've only used 1, 2, 3 folders. Okay, so now we're going to put glue on this side of the flap because we're going to be gluing it down so that it looks like this when we're done. Okay, and it's going to be on this outside fold of this front folder. Okay, this crease that we made. One of the first things we did was make that crease. Now we're going to glue this side right into the crease. So it might be easiest if you see it like this, so you can kind of see where the crease is and line up your folder with that crease. You want to tuck it in just a little bit to make sure this has room to fold over and close. So just tuck it in just a hair from the crease. And again, we're going to press on that because now we've got glue, and then we've got this. We've got one of our panels in. Yay! All right, over here we're going to do the opposite. So we're going to put glue on this side of the hinge here. Apparently I have an air bubble. There we go. Or a couple. I should really store this glue upside down. The more I use it, the more it becomes apparent. It's so thick that it takes a while for gravity to help you out. Okay, so now we're going to work on this fold, which is the fold we made first, this crease. Again, we're going to line it up just inside this crease, but not too far, just a little bit inside. So that, again, we've got, it's not going to be too thick or get in the way of this folding over. Then I'm going to be doing a separate video on how to embellish these and use these. So right now I just want you to concentrate on getting this structure built. Okay, so we're just building this structure, and then I will show you some ideas on what you can do to decorate it. Now we've got this not very pretty spot right here. Okay, so see how a manila folder pretty much fits right inside of all this? So you can fold this. The width is almost exactly the right width, but you can tell down here it's a little bit too long, and over here it's just a teeny bit too wide. So I'm gonna cut this tab off, because what basically I want, you can, if you have scrapbooking paper too, you could use scrapbooking paper for this, but I just like having the structure of this because it's a little bit heavier than scrapbooking paper, and it's almost more of a light cardstock weight, and I like the structure that helps give to the basic bones of our lap book here. I almost want to just barely trim it so that we get the tab off. So you can see I just cut like a ½ inch, if that, maybe it's a quarter. I don't measure things real well, people. So if you're looking to have exact measurements, I'm sorry. And then I want to cut down the middle because I want to have both these sheets available. So I'm going to cut down the middle. And then we needed to cut 1 inch off the bottom so that it fits inside well. So basically we're making an inside panel. Again, this is 11.5 inches, so we're gonna go down to 10.5. We're gonna cut that down. Okay, so now you've just cut up a folder to create a rectangle that is the size to back this whole part right here. Okay, see how it's gonna line this so that you have a nice pretty backing there. Okay, so we're going to glue that in. If you want to be more precise and measure things better, like I said, I'm not great at measuring, so I'm gonna scooch this up here, and then I'm gonna take one of my scraps and I'm gonna glue it in down here to kind of cover that edge up. But you could measure this much better than I did and get it exactly right. I just want you to enjoy the creative process and not be too worried about making everything perfect, especially when it comes to art journaling. Because if we start worrying about things getting perfect with our art journaling, then we're going to be missing the whole point of the project. Because the whole point of the project is just to express yourself. Now, if expressing yourself with something like this means making precise cuts and things like that, that's fine. You know, I'm not saying that's a bad idea. I'm just saying for me, it takes away some of the fun because I just don't like paying attention to that much detail. So I'm just gonna cover up this little gap here with a little strip of this. And I can see right here, I need to make the cut right about there. Now let's see. Now it might be interesting, I can decide whether I want to leave the flap open or, ooh, look at this. We could already get some decorating done here. I can put the flap all the way across and then it will tie in on this side. Oh, that might be kind of cute and fun. Okay, let's try that. See, and this is where you get to play too. So if you're not used to playing, let yourself play when you make this. And again, it can be kind of a hodgepodge. Just think patchwork quilt, because nobody looks at a patchwork quilt and goes, oh, that seamstress did not know what she was doing. No, they know it's made from scraps, and they know might be made from sentimental fabrics from the family, maybe shirts from a relative who's passed away, or maybe different parts of special gowns that your grandma wore or something like that. You don't look at a patchwork quilt and go, oh, that's just so not cool. So what I'm gonna do here, patchwork quilt style, you can see how these now fold in like this. I'm gonna go ahead and take this and just keep the whole length of it here, and I'm gonna glue it to our left flap folder here that's over here. Just for some fun. Simply, that's it, just for fun. There's no other reason to keep that flap there. And you can see it's a little bit long, so I'm just gonna trim it off. And that's why you want to keep the scraps from cutting up your folders too, if you want to add different structures to them. If you're using just plain folders, this part from here on out, from this part on, you might want to be using scrapbook papers, or you could even cut up a grocery bag, because that would be really pretty with the brown craft paper, anything like that. So if you want to do some decorating, and you want prints, now's the time to start putting those in. If you want to keep it all plain and then start writing on it and coloring on it and all that, keep your plain folder here in the middle too. So now you get to choose how you want to fold this up. I just like to fold these ones in first, and then I like to fold these big outside ones in. And you might find we're getting a little tight here. So what might have to happen is you might have to go in and hand trim some things up, or see if it folds better the other way. Looks like I think I need to trim this one a tiny bit. Because once you add this thickness, it adds to that, it adds thickness into the original creases we made. And that's all that's going on right now, is it's just getting thick, and so the creases don't have enough room to bend in. So, yep. What you can do to avoid that is not trim these so close too. You can trim them way in. In fact, I think on this original one that I did, I trimmed the sides pretty far in. Yeah, so I took quite a bit off the bottom of these sides, because you can see, it's hard to see with this tortoiseshell, but they don't go all the way to the edge. And these are kind of tucked in a little bit too. There's about 1/4 inch on each side of this. So you can measure things and not get them so precise, and then you don't have to go back in and trim things up like this. But it looks like just on this side, I just got a little too optimistic with my measurements. That's okay. Again, we're just gonna trim. This process doesn't have to be perfect. That's another thing here. If you subscribe to my YouTube channel, this is how I kind of attack all projects. See how this one's folding just nicely like that? Okay, we want this side to be doing that same thing. We're getting there. This one's still buckling a little bit, so now I'm gonna turn this over and trim this side just a tiny bit. So this is how I attack a lot of projects. I don't try to do it with a lot of precision and perfection. I just kind of make do as I go along and see how things turn out. And sometimes things will turn out just the way I had hoped, and sometimes things will turn out with a little bit of wonkiness. But I always feel like there's a metaphor in that for life, because life does not always turn out the way we want. In fact, I can guarantee you everybody who's watching this video has a story to tell about how life did not go the way they thought it was going to go at some point. And so there's just a metaphor in learning to accept that, right? And in doing art projects and art journaling, if you don't have to worry about making things perfect, then you can really let go and just create, right? So if we're not worried about producing fine art, and we're just trying to express ourselves, have some fun, stress relief in a healthy way, all these kind of things, then just try to let go of perfectionism. For some people, that's going to be easier than others, but I'd encourage it for everyone on just fun little projects like this. Now, if you're trying to, like, let's say you get this down and now you go, oh, I want to make these for a friend, or I want to make them for a craft fair or gifts, or to sell in an Etsy shop or something like that, then that's another deal. You're going to want it to be more perfect and precise. But if this is just a fun little project for yourself, or even if it is a gift for a friend, it doesn't have to be perfect. So now here we have our lap book, you guys. Look, just took a couple little trimming issues and then we've got it all down. So on the next video, I will give you ideas on what to do with it now that you've made it. So go ahead and make it, and then when you're ready, come back and check out the next video. All right, bye guys.